Please welcome to the stage, Ben Pope!
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Guys, thank you. So, hello. How's everyone doing? Is everyone all right? Yeah. Wonderful stuff. What a treat. So many. This is lovely. Before we start the show, can you just give it up for Henry, our warm-up act? Give it up for Henry. Very good. Very good. In some ways, I would say too good. Very rogue decision from me to open the show with sincere music, which is objectively a superior art form to this. Following music with comedy is like following LSD with juggling. Like this is. This is very stupid. So let's try, shall we? Let's just see how we get on. So guys, I need to know who you all are before we start the show. So what is the age range of this room? Who here is like 25 or younger? Give me a woo. Oh my God. Two tiny embryos. Hi. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for clawing your way out of whichever ketamine-filled bum bag it is that you guys live in. That's lovely. Lovely to see you through the vape smoke for once. That's wonderful. That's lovely. And then who's on the other end of the spectrum? Have we got anyone who's like 45, 50, older? Give me a woo. Okay. They didn't make it. Okay, that's all right. It was a cold winter. That makes sense. No fossils. All right, that's fine. Which means that everyone else between 25 and 45, give me a woo, give me a woo. There it is, my people. The failures. Hi. Old enough to know the dream is over. But not old enough to quit. What a treat. No, we've all got stuff, haven't we? Everyone, at every different age, you know. The young guys, little guys, they're worried about climate change. You know, what's going to happen? Still up for grabs. And then, you know, the older people, they're worried about death. True. And then if you're in the middle, our printers are always breaking. So, like, do you know what I mean? We've all got stuff, you know? I think it's about equal across the board. Where I sit on that spectrum, I am 31 years old. Sarcastic, but that's fine. No, which is not a great. It's not a great age. It's not a good. There's a lot of, you know. There's good things. There's bad things. Everyone talks about it all the time. I mostly like it, I would say, as a rule. There's a couple of things that have changed in the last few years. You know, I now go to between 3,000 and 7,000 weddings a year. That's mostly one every 4 hours now. It's real. I'm only here now because I have a doctor's note. They are like. They're all the time, and I like them. You know, they're nice things. If you don't know what a wedding is, by the way, it's when like a man or a woman and a woman or a man who are in love or not. Sometimes you don't know. They meet up in like a church or a barn, and they pay for memories and that's fine. No, I think it's fine. I just go to so many of these things, you know, like, and it's quite funny because like a lot of it's like it's often couples that I've like known all my entire adult life, you know, and I know they have love. They've got it, and it's great, you know. I know they've got it because I've been there the whole time, watching them. You know, I know what's been going on, all right? I don't have the wool covered on my eyes. I know what's been going on. I don't need now all of them to open fire on me with that same love, you know? It's ga 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 ga. We love each other. We love each other forever. We know we love each other forever. We bet £10,000 that we love each other forever. A generous estimate in some ways. No, it's fine. I just go to a lot of these things, and not just as a guest as well. You know, I've been a best man. I've been I was a wedding waiter for years and years as a teenager. I've sung at weddings and stuff. I think probably over the course of my life, I've been to between like 70 and 100 weddings. I don't think that's an exaggeration. So it's a fair amount. I'm going to tell you about 3 of them over the course of the show. That's the deal for the show, 3 weddings. No funerals. As covered in Act 1, they're all dead already. They're gone. So no, first wedding number 1, quite recently, about sort of 6 months ago. Very intense wedding for a lot of reasons. Firstly, about a week before the wedding, I had one of the most single experiences of my life. I was leaving hospital. I had my appendix removed. If we don't know what the appendix is, tiny little mystery organ that you can take out and it doesn't matter. Just totally useless little, doesn't really do anything. Little liberal Democrat that lives like just here. You can just whip that out. Not the biggest surgery you can have. There are bigger surgeries, There's triple bypasses up here. Appendix removal is down here with circumcision and haircut. So not a big deal, right? Had a little off the top, and then I was leaving the hospital, and as I was leaving, that's normally if you have a partner, that's when they come and pick you up, right? But I walked home. Yeah, exactly. Fucking hell, you don't understand. Couples have that privilege. They have an Uber driver built in, It's not like that for the rest of us. I was walking home, and as I was walking home, I bumped into someone that I had been on a date with 3 weeks earlier. Now, it's a bit like, bumping into an ex or something. It's quite a high stakes environment, It's because you bump into someone like that, you want to bump into them whilst you're accidentally winning an award. Backflipping into a ravine to save an orphan, Breastfeeding the homeless. You want to look cool, You want to look like a cool guy. I did not look like a cool guy. I had been in hospital for 3 days. I hadn't showered the entire time I was there. I was my hair was hanging down, lank like a serial killer. I still had all my holes in me from the surgery. I was like a fucking colander walking down the road, just clutching all my wounds, and I couldn't really digest that much. So I gone to buy some food that I could digest. I bought some soup. So I bought 2 tins of soup. So I was carrying 2 tins of soup. Just walking along with my soups, just me and my soups. And not even good soup, by the way. On the label, it just said the words big soup. It's just dog food, just the absolute. I looked like I'd robbed a kennel. I was wandering along, and I walk along, and I see this person, and she sees me, and she says straight off the bat, "Oh my God, what happened?" Because when you look bad enough, people skip hello. So she was like, "What happened?" I tried to explain what had happened that had led me to this point. And obviously it was not a simple thing. I hadn't gone into the hospital knowing I had appendicitis. There was all sorts of things. Also, we had quite a strained relationship anyway, because we'd both been on this date about 3 weeks earlier and then had both mutually ghosted each other. Which I know, right? Sounds kind of bad. But I actually don't think it's that bad. I think mutually ghosted, obviously, it's not the worst thing that can... Obviously what you want is, you go on a date, you're both in love, mutual love, kiss, kiss, kiss. That's what we're after, right? But mutual indifference. Oh, chef's kiss, so nice. You both just inwardly just nope, and then you just walk off into the sunset separately. Delightful, what a treat, okay? Apart from when you then see them again, which is what happened here. And I saw her and I was like, oh my God, what are you doing here? You're a ghost. What's happening, right? So that was very awkward for starters, okay? Also, as I said, I didn't know that I had appendicitis when I went into the hospital, okay? What had happened is I just had really severe stomach pain. I had eaten some, stale garlic. It doesn't matter why. And I had gone in, and obviously it's very embarrassing when you have the stomach pain, you go to the doctor, right? Because the first thing they say, as I'm sure some of you know, is, oh, have you considered trapped wind? Do we know what trapped wind is? If you don't, it's like when you have gas, but it's shy. right? And it's just very embarrassing because you go and they go, have you considered trap wear? And you're like, no, I've not got trap wear, fuck off, no. And then they press the factory default button on your chest and you do the fart of your life. You do a fart that went to RADA. You do just, like incredible. The genie comes out of the bottle. It's horrific, right? So I was worried that would be the case. That's what would happen, right? So I delayed it for ages, and eventually I was in so much pain. I went in, and they were like, "Your appendix is going to explode now." And then they did this surgery, and then they turfed me out like 2 days later. I'm walking home, and I bumped into this person, and I tried to sort of like squeeze all of that story down into like 2 sentences. So she was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And I said, I put bad garlic in my mouth, and now I'm going home. And I looked in her eye, and I saw the moment I became her story for the day. Do you know what I mean? So it's fair to say I was feeling pretty romantically untethered at that particular moment in time. And then a week later, I had to go to this wedding. And this wedding was incredibly intense, okay? It was intense for lots of reasons. Mostly it was very religious. It was like an incredibly religious wedding. It was like mega Catholic, like super Catholic. Like bells, chanting, Latin, a stained glass window of a condom with a line through it. Like, you know, like the real... Everyone was holding a baby, okay? Everyone was holding a baby. Everyone was holding a baby. Everyone was holding a baby. I was holding a baby. Like they were handing them out on the way in. It was like, you had to take one. And if it wasn't babies, it was like little boys in like dicky bows and waistcoats, like everywhere. Just a stream of little children in just little like waistcoats. And I was like, is this a wedding or a tiny snooker league? Like, what the fuck is going on here? But I behaved myself. I was like really well behaved, even though I'm not really very religious anymore. And like the priest kept doing silly things. The priest kept saying the phrase "our soul." He kept being like, "Our soul is great, but the Lord is greater." But he kept saying it. You're ahead of me. Our soul. And once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. You know, like. But I held it in, I was very well behaved, okay? And then, this was when I broke, okay? So we went to the drinks reception, and there was something at the drinks reception I've not seen before or since, and if anyone in the room is thinking of getting married anytime soon, please do avoid this, okay? There's this piece of decoration, and it was like an archway, beautiful floral archway, you know? Gorgeous, lovely thing. In the center, a neon sign, and the neon sign was made up of 2 words. And you'd think at a wedding, those 2 words could be anything, couldn't they? You know, you could have like, just married, I do, just eat. You can have what you like, okay? And they had taken that to heart because they had gone for a sign and it said, and this is true, till death. In neon. Till death. That's not romantic, is it? Those are the terms and conditions for a duel. That's like a... Do you know what I mean? Till death. Imagine seeing that at a wedding. You're like dancing to Come On Eileen and you look like, ah! Why is there a suicide pact on the wall? What the fuck is that? What the hell? It's scary. I realized it was the first time I'd seen the word death in neon. That's rare, isn't it? It's like seeing the word cunt in calligraphy. What an angry monk. Wow. You know? I was just worried. I was like, what happens if they get divorced? You know? What's that harrowing, cursed item then? What do they do with it? You know? You can't give it away. That's a threat. So it's like you have to sell it to someone who could functionally use it. And it's like, who could functionally use one of those signs? Maybe like a GP? NHS needs some jazz, right? You know? You go in and you're like, oh, doctor, did you have the test results? And the doctor's like, well, yeah. Well, they probably don't do it like that, but they're a better bad zip manner than that. They're not like, whoa, whoa, Aruga. No, they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, you have herpes, and you're like, oh no. How long will the herpes last? Funny you should ask. Doctor kicks the socket into the wall. Brrr, bing, till death! Confetti cannons. Now pronounce you man and hives. All right. Yeah. One clap is better than none, actually. I do believe that. A pint of applaud. I just go to a lot of those kinds of weddings. I go to a lot of religious weddings because I was raised religious. That's just how it's planned out. I always have a very strange family in that it's my mum's side is all Irish Catholics and my dad's side Welsh Protestants. They came together, famous collaborators. And they collabed on me, a super Christian. Poured all of that into me. My kryptonite is pleasure. Can't do it. Won't do it, in fact. It's fine. I mean, I don't want to take the piss out of anyone if anyone is religious. Like, have we got any religious people in? Give me a hell yeah. No? Oh, a couple of people in the middle. Great. Lovely stuff. Have we got any atheists? What's the opposite of a hell? Give me a heavens no. Yeah, all right. There they are. Angry as ever. Okay, great. And then who's in the middle? Who's like agnostic? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Uncharacteristically enthusiastic. Noise for agnosticism. Normally it's like, you do it. I don't know. That's great. No, I'm probably in that camp, I think. I think I'm in the middle there. I'm on the fence. I used to be Catholic. I was raised very Catholic. That's how that's what my childhood was like. But now lapsed. I'm a lapsed Catholic, which is a great phrase, lapsed Catholic. Invented by Catholics to make you feel guilty for lapsing. It's smart tech. It really is. It really, because you can't like, the idea is you're lapsed, you're coming back. You're just taking a breather. You can't unsubscribe from Catholicism. There are no ex-Catholics or former Catholics or disgraced. Well, you do get those. No, it's tricky. It's a hard thing. It's in you still, always. You've always got Catholic software forever, and it's annoying when you're, outwardly agnostic. I have all of the shame and guilt of Catholicism and none of the sick jewelry. What a trade-off that is. Because say what you like about the Catholic Church, but the merch. The accoutrements. So many accessories, You see a sexy Spanish guy, he's got a little cross hanging down on his clavicle. Hello. That's great work. The cross, that's their logo. That's good work. And Jesus is on there, their brand ambassador. It's very smart. There's no jewelry if you're agnostic, is there? You can't wear a question mark around your neck. You look like the fucking Riddler. Ridiculous, So I don't know. I'd still. I have it's in there. The software's still in there. Sometimes it kicks out. Sometimes the inner Catholic arises again. I'll give you an example. I was home recently during the week. It was like a Wednesday. It was the afternoon, and the doorbell went, and I went to answer it, and there were two middle-aged ladies there. And I knew there were mums in my area. The internet told me, but that was a test. And some of you did not pass. No, I just didn't know they went door to door, So I opened the door, and there's these two middle-aged ladies there, and one of them had her hand out, and she was like, "Look at this!" And if a stranger on the street ever says, "You look at this," it's never good, is it? It's always like a video about veganism or a penis, It's meat or not meat, and those are not great options, You know, so I looked down and it was Bible verses. It was like an iPad with Bible verses on it. They were Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, they were out converting. You know, that's what they were up to. And it's quite weird to see Bible verses on an iPad. You know, it's quite strange seeing like, you know, religion on a thing made of science. It's quite a weird mishmash, isn't it? It's like if you saw a witch wearing a Fitbit. You'd be like, they've drawn that wrong. So I read it. I read the verses, and they were all about heaven, and they were all about how great heaven is, and oh my God, you're going to love heaven, and have you tried heaven? It's delicious. And I got all the way through it, and afterwards, they looked at me, and they were like, so, what did you think? You know, and I was like, it's good stuff, you know. I've heard it before, but I like it. It's not, you know, I'm not against it, you know. And they were like, so, what do you think happens after you die? And I was like, guys... It's 2 p.m. It's a Wednesday. I am 30 years old. I'm wearing a kimono. I don't know what happens before you die. I have no answers for you. I don't know. And they were like, well, have you ever thought about it? Do you ever believe in anything? And I was like, well, yeah, I used to be Catholic, but I'm not really Catholic anymore. And then they said this, they were like, we meet a lot of people who used to be Catholic who aren't Catholic anymore. With all this side eye. And the fury within me could have powered the national grid. I was like, so defensive. The media was like, how dare you? They may be repressed, problematic, imperialistic pedophiles, but they're my repressed, problematic, imperialistic pedophiles. Who are you, Jehovah's Witnesses? What a stupid name. Jehovah isn't a crime. What are you talking about? Stop coming around my house like a divorced car salesman. Fuck off, go away. I was so angry, and I was like, I have no idea where this anger has come from. This is not how I feel. This is not how I normally behave, you know? I'm not, and I realized it was because I just never resolved any of those things for myself. I never really thought about them. Not since I was 13. I haven't thought. I don't know what happens after you die, you know? Who knows? Maybe there is something. I don't know. Life can't just be this. This? You think this is life? Birth, nectar points, death? That's not enough for me. You know? And so I don't know. I have no idea. I realize I only ever get asked that question in very high-profile environment. Only when it's high stakes, you know, where there's something to lose. That's the only time I ever get asked those. Whether, you know, I'll give you another example. And there's no good way to put this. I was once very high at work. Okay, and just, you know, this is being recorded, so Mum, don't listen to this bit. But look, I don't really do. I'm not a drugs fellow. You might be able to tell it from the phrase drugs fellow, but I don't. Here's my timeline. Here's my whole timeline with drugs, okay? When I was 21, late bloomer, you know, someone offered me a bit of, and I took it, and I took the lighter to light it for the two of us, and as I did it and lit it, I said, shall I be mother? So that sort of tells you everything you need to know about how this operates. So it's mostly marijuana, and then, it's mostly marijuana. Are there any police officers in? Okay, so also cocaine, but I'm not proud about that. That was just happened once. I was having a very bad breakup. It was going very badly. I thought maybe it would make me feel better. It made me sad faster. It's a good lesson learned there. So it's mostly just that. And then about a year and a half ago, I went to go and help my friend move out of his flat. And he was like, man, you've helped me all day. You've moved furniture for me all day. Would you like a little bit of money? And I was like, I don't need any money. That's fine. That's ridiculous. This is a favor. And he was like, well, look, if you don't want that, why not have some of this? And he got out some weed chocolate. Now, as I say, don't really do drugs, but I do eat all chocolate. And it turns out they're growing some really interesting stuff on Quality Street. I wanted to try it. I wanted to see what it was like. So I had a little bit, and I was, nothing. And then my friend was like, "Well, thanks very much," and he put me on the train to go off. Halfway through the train journey, I lost my mind. My toes were curling in on themselves. I was laughing to myself, which is quite the vibe on the District Line. I just didn't know that it was like way more powerful and lasted longer than just. So I had this experience, and I was heading into London, Victoria. And it was only when I got to London, Victoria, that I realized why I was going into the center of town. And the reason I was going to the center of town was because I was going to work. And sometimes when I didn't do this, I used to be a singer, and I would sing at a very prominent church in the middle of town that will remain, because we're recording this, nameless. I used to go and sing. I was like the priest's hype man, Like I'd go and say, the priest would be like, "Oh, Jesus is great," and I'd be like, "Yes, he is," like that sort of. How we do, me and him, and so I went to go and to get there, and I realized I was like the highest I've ever been in my life, and I was like, I need to sober up. I was like, maybe it's like alcohol. Maybe if I go and eat something. So I went to 3 separate cafes and restaurants, and I had a BLT in each one. Why 3 separate ones? Because I was worried the waiters would be suspicious. Just very normal behavior, and. I went up to the front of this particular cathedral, and I can honestly, I'm going to describe it, and you can imagine it, and also you can Google it later. Incredible, beautiful place. It looks gorgeous. It's like a kaleidoscope had sex with a Viennetta. It's just this amazing, just beautiful cathedral, and you go inside, and there's parquet flooring, and jewelry as discussed, and smoke and candles and stuff. If you're high, it is the best day of your life. But I was on the clock, right? So I went in there, and I was just still, the sandwiches had not helped. I was still on the cusp of vomiting and farting the entire time. I went and sat down there, dribbling, staring at the altar for a while, and then I was like, God, I've got to get up and do this. I've got to go and do this thing. So I stood up, and I was heading backstage, which is not what it's called, but imagine, and as I was going there, I was like, there are a lot of people dressed really nicely for this service. There's a lot of people. This is pretty weird. And I realized the reason there were so many nice people, and the reason there was at least one person dressed in white, is because it was another wedding. I was going to be singing not with a choir, but on my own to 400 people. Yes, exactly. So this is wedding number 2. I went backstage, again, not what it's called, but I went there, I got on my little dress, I got on all of my stuff, I get my little psalm book, I'm looking around, there are just priests everywhere. And I don't know, as I say, I'm not very religious, I don't really believe in the power of a priest, but, it's a bit like seeing a community support officer, You don't have any authority, but you are wearing a costume, it's like, you're going to behave yourself around the priest, right? And I've got my little book, and I'm trying to read my little psalms, and I don't know if you've tried to read when you're high. It is so difficult. It's like trying to eat soup with a badminton racket. Nothing goes in. You're just it's all ridiculous. Looking at words I've used my entire life, and I didn't recognize them anymore. Just like the. The is a word. Is it the? This book has a lisp. So stupid. So I'm trying to pull it together. I'm trying to sing. I have no idea what's coming out of my mouth. I'm in there, and I can't. Have you ever been paranoid when you're high? It's so much worse when you look up and you can see the actual face of God. That is. He's in there and all the mosaics and photos and stuff, and not photos obviously, but that would, he would have to be real then, wouldn't he? We got him like Sasquatch. No, he's in the mosaics, and God in all the depictions of the mosaics is not a chilled out guy, He's never He's like smiting or aloof. Those are his two modes, you know. And if it's not God, it's Jesus, and Jesus is also a very stressed guy. He's having the worst time of his life up there. I mean, literally, he really is. You know, he's like, he's had way too many espressos. He's like, oh my God. And, you know, it's fine. It is stressful. He's a self-employed carpenter. Like, that's life, you know. But like, and he's always pointing. He's always like pointing. And what's he pointing to? More Jesuses. Just G's eye on every surface, everywhere. I'm freaking out, you know, and I'm sweating, and you know, the altar boys are making incense, I'm making my own, and I'm just trying to get through this thing, and eventually we finish. I have no idea what I've done. I have no idea what sounds have come out of my face. I go backstage, and I'm taking off my dress, and I think, maybe I've got away with this. Like, maybe I can't. And as I'm just about to leave, a bishop just comes around the corner. Now, yes. I don't know if you guys know the hierarchy of a church, okay? Bishop is like below the king, but above a castle. I've actually lost respect for you. For that round of applause. Some of you need to take a long, hard look at yourselves. No, that's also one of my faves, but it's definitely for the dads, you know? For the young people, a shiny Charizard. Like, he's like right at the top, you know, like really big guy, you know. And he comes around the corner. He walks straight towards me, starts making like eye contact with me, you know. And I'm looking at him. And I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And then he starts talking, and he starts asking, you know. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, my pupils are the size of planets, you know. So I was like, maybe if I just blink enough times, then it would be unseemly to show such buxom irises to the bishop. Not in the bishop's company, no. Oh no, such comely peepers. Oh. And I'm laughing to myself inwardly about the phrase "comely peepers." And then I come to and I realize he stopped talking. And I like rewind back through the sounds, and I'm pretty sure he asked a question. I'm pretty sure the question was, "So, do you believe?" And obviously, in that moment, I was having a divine experience. But that was because of the chocolate, right? But then if God's real, he made the chocolate. So like, what's the endless cycle there? Like, what's the chicken and the egg there? Like, who's in charge? You know, like, what does it mean? What does it mean to think about that? What does it mean to think? Like, what is a mind? Like, what is a mind? Like, what's a mind? Like, what's a mind? Like, what is it different to the body and the spirit? Is it like an apparatus that works with the? Is it like a sort of like triumvirate thing? Does it work? Is it like a sort of tripod? Is it like is that the three things that they're talking about when they're talking about the Trinity? Is that what the same? I don't say any of that, of course. He says, "Do you believe?" And I said, "Okay." He said, "Do you believe?" I said, oh, okay. And he said, "Okay." And then I said, "And also with you." And then he walked away in that way the bishops do, diagonally. So yes, I don't know. I don't want to make fun of anyone's particular religion. You know, we all believe in stuff. Everyone's got stuff, you know. And all of it's different, you know. Some of it's outside your body. That's the way of it. You know, we've all got to have our own personal code for getting through the day. You know, there's probably some people in here who believe in tarot. Statistically, at least 3 of you. And this is North London, so... Okay, fine. That's all right. It's okay. Tarot is fine. I'm like, fine. If you got to find a way to deal with life, do it like that. That's okay. Obviously, to me, it does sound like you're going like, oh, my therapist is Pokemon cards. But that's fine. That's fine. You know, it's the same with astrology. There are probably people in here who believe in astrology, and that's great too. You know, I have my own personal bee in my bonnet with astrology, but I can't throw stones. I've been telling you the whole show that I was raised Catholic. You know, I can't throw stones at astrology. We're saying the same things. They're like, oh, I'm angry because of the sky. And I'm like, the sky is angry with me. Like, do you know, like, it's all the same. You know, as I say, I have a personal bee in my body with astrology, but that's just because I used to date someone who was really into it in like a big way, you know. And it was quite confusing, you know. I now realize that it was probably a bit of a red flag. And I'm very good at ignoring red flags, you know. I'm very good. If someone is like, you know, beautiful and kind and generous to you, you know, it's very easy to see a red flag and be like, oh, what a beautiful flag. Wow. Oh. Is this warning sign velveteen? Oh my God. Oh, my goodness, you know? And, it was nice in some ways. We used to sit in bed together and she'd read me like our horoscopes, you know? And I always think horoscopes should be so fun, you know? They should be so fun. Because a horoscope is gossip about you. The most exciting kind of gossip, right? You come in the office and someone's like, oh, come over here. Oh, you never guess what Maria said about you. Maria thinks you're a bitch. Oh, so exciting, you know? Much less exciting if it's like, oh, come over here. You never guess what Maria said about you. Next month you're going to experience change. Doesn't have the same power, you know. But it wasn't the horoscopes. It wasn't really any of it. Basically what happened was she cheated on me and she dumped me. And when she dumped me, she said, I'm very sorry I slept with this person, but I'm a Cancer and I'm very spontaneous. Yeah, which is hard to hear, isn't it, you know? Because I just don't think those things link up, you know? I just don't think they can affect each other, you know? Like being like, oh, I'm sorry I slept with this person is because of the... Just like being like, oh, I'm sorry I ran over your dog, but the tide was out. Like, it's not like... Those things aren't making any... I also just don't think you can be astrologically spontaneous. I don't think that's possible. Spontaneous is that's a big thing to claim if you're going to go with astrology. Do you know what I mean? Because essentially she was being like, I'm really sorry I slept with this person, but the Praesepe star cluster was born 7 million years ago, and it happened to form into the shape of a crab that Galileo was able to identify through his telescope in the 1500s. Fast forward to the 90s when two strangers happened to meet just as the sky crab is visible in our hemisphere, and they conceive a child who sort of miraculously takes on a kind of like characteristic trait fusion with the sky crab, and so that... Fast forwarding to like 2018 when that baby, now as a grown woman, walks into a bar and sees a hot actor, a sort of ancient interstellar trigger response comes out instead of saying hello, she has sex with him. And I just don't think that's that spontaneous. It was planned for a while. But I'm not bitter. Because I'm a Leo. All right. It's fine. I mean, it was. I was angry at the time, but I actually do think it's as with all these things, for the best. But I do think it's like. I was angry, not really with her, but because my ideas of love had been disrupted. You know, I had very clear ideas of what love would be like when I was younger. I was like, I know because everyone's told me that it will come and it'll be, you know, unconditional and it'll last forever. And I don't think those things are necessarily true. For all of us, you know? Everyone says they know how love works. Everyone say, but we don't. You know, it's like gravity. We all know how gravity works. Do we? You ever tried to explain gravity as an adult to another adult? Just being like, oh yeah, well we go down because the ground is big. You sound like a fucking toddler. You sound ridiculous. You know, and the idea that it should be forever. Forever is a very long time, you know? Imagine a cricket match. It's that long. So long, oh my God. And that it should be unconditional. This is a controversial thing. I think I want some conditions in my love, okay? I want some clauses in there, please. You know? Unconditional love is what you get from a dog. Some of you don't like this, and that's okay. I just think about it. Like, I just think if I killed 7 people, I would hope, at the very least, that my close friends and family would be like, why? You know? Whereas if you brought a Labrador back to a bungalow of corpses, he's gonna be like, I love you! 7 new butts to smell. Whoa! That's not smart criteria for a relationship, is it? You know. And I know I sound bitter and I know I sound grim, and all my friends say the same. They're always like, oh, Ben, you say all this. Don't you feel there's something like lacking in your life? Because you don't you want that magic? Don't you feel like there's a hole? Don't you think there's something, something within you that you're missing? I'm like, yes, of course I feel like that. But that's what life feels like. We're all born falling through the void. You don't slow the descent by irreparably welding yourself to another plummeting corpse. I've been doing this show for like 2 years. Still not sure if that is a joke or not. Definitely a statement. I don't know. I just think it's just difficult, isn't it? I think so much of like love as it is in the modern era is about like storytelling, It's about narrative. You go to a wedding and there's people trying to save it for later as a story. There's a photographer. There's always a photographer at a wedding. What a coincidence. There's no photographer at almost any other big function. Like, you don't get a funeral photographer, do you? Like, no one's at the corner. There's no guy called Ian at the corner of the wake being like, oh, now I'm with the body. Everybody say grief. Like, there isn't the same thing. People are obsessed with taking photos at a wedding. That's like, oh, they love it so much. Like I told you earlier, I worked as a wedding waiter for years and years. I did as a teenager. Every summer, twice a weekend, every summer for about 7 years. So, I've seen so many weddings, and the best bit of it was that you got to see the backstage bit. You got to see the guts, the mechanics. I remember once I was in this dining hall, and I was at the bar, and I was cleaning glasses. Perfect. Actually good to have the correct soundscape for what that might be like in some ways. Can we keep that, Jake? That would be great. I don't know how you did that. That was magic. Just more sort of service sounds, please. Perfect. Okay, now I'm scared. Okay. Lightning doesn't strike 3 times. Anyway, I'm cleaning the glasses. And I see that this bridesmaid comes in, and she's got like a little disposable camera, and she's taking photos of. There's all these beautiful floral displays and everything. Everything's made up very gorgeously, in the dining hall. And she comes in, she takes a photo, and she's taking photos of like the chairs and the arrangements and stuff. And I hear her. She doesn't see I'm there. She puts the camera to her face, and as she's taking a photo of the whole room, she just says, "Oh, I just love memories." And I was like, as opposed to what? Amnesia? What do you mean? Yes, of course you love the faculty of memory. Yeah. Well, I hope so. Well, no, like, what are you talking about? No one. What? It's ridiculous. No one's waking up on a concussion ward being like, "Oh, finally!" Like, who am I? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, also, it's happening now. It's not a memory yet. You've got to enjoy it later. Come on, like, what is this? You be present in the room. It's not a memory. It's saying I love memories as you make a memory. That's like saying, oh, I love kids as you come. You've got to wait. Patience is a virtue. Which is to say, I just think too much of it is about storytelling, Sometimes the story unravels a bit. I'm going to tell you one last wedding story. This is the last one, the final one, and by far the worst. It's about 2012, and this is one of the last ones that I ever wait tables at as a teenager. I'm 18, about to go off to university, and I can immediatly tell it's not going to be a good one. It's very, very gauche, incredibly rich. Wedding setting. There's a lot of there's 2 very rich families getting married. Not the whole family, just their nominated representatives are meeting in battle. And so it's like really gauche, like incredibly, like so much money's been spent. There's so much food. Everyone is in like these matching purple, like neon purple outfits. There's a lot of matching uniforms in weddings because obviously they share a lot with fascism. And everyone is there, and they're just, everyone is like, there's a kind of buzz about it. Everyone's like angry. It's got a sort of like pre-Vesuvius vibe about everything, you know. And the problem is that there is a free bar, you know, and that changes the tone of a wedding, right? Because if you've got a higher bar at a wedding, then everyone is sort of held back by what they have in their pockets, what they've got in their bank accounts. But people drink differently with a free bar, you know. They drink with a kind of bravado and spite. As if to say, you were stupid for doing this, and I'm going to ruin your special day. You know, they're incredible. People were coming up and they were doing the most insane orders I've ever seen. People were coming up and being like, I want one of everything. I want a beer, I want a wine, I want a vodka, I want a tequila. Someone came up and tried to order a pint of Cointreau. Someone else was like, are you serving absinthe? And I was like, no, we're not. I'm not a tragic Irish poet, and you're not a syphilitic Victorian gentleman, so no, we're not doing absinthe. Another guy came up and he was like, oh, can I get like a shot of vodka? And I was like, oh, finally, a normal guy. And he was like, can I also get a half shot next to it? And I was like, dude, we don't do halves. It's not like shoe sizes. They don't like, I don't know what you're doing. And he was like, oh, come on. I was like, okay, fine. So I did a little shot of vodka, little half shot. He picked them both up and he went, great, that's for my son. He's 10. And he just walked away. These people were fucking animals, okay? So they're drinking from midday until 4. They are absolutely plastered beyond recognition by the time they sit down to eat. And as they eat, they have the speeches, and the speeches are an ordeal. The father of the bride, during his speech, makes it pretty clear he's not that jazzed that the wedding is going ahead. Yes, the best man, who is no such thing, he stands up, and he's probably like the most male man I've ever seen in my life. Like, he's just like, you know those guys who are like bursting out of their shirts, who are just like, no! And he's got like a bald head as well, so he looks like a sort of like unsheathing pepperami. Like, you know, sort of executive thumb, you know. The phallic symbol. And he he gets up and he gives this speech with a PowerPoint presentation that is so graphic and terrific. I see an 80-year-old lady at the back of the room, a granny, mouth the words, fuck this. Once the speeches are over, the dancing starts, and that just welcomes in complete carnage. Okay, it is that there are people throwing things, there's people vomiting, there's people screaming. It's like a kind of like Renaissance painting of Croydon. Like, it's, do you know what I mean? Absolutely horrific. And it reaches this point where there's like a load of like yelling heard outside the dining room, and all these whispers go through all the waiters, and they reach me back at the bar. And what has happened is there's been a fight, and the father of the bride has punched the groom. Yeah. The groom has punched the father of the bride. The best man has come out and punched both of them. Which is quite a move as well, isn't it? Just like, yeah! Like, what martial art does that belong to? Anyway, so he comes back in with like blood all down his shirt. Someone calls the police. The police arrive, and they probably think it's quite serious because they send 3 cars and the tallest, widest policeman I have ever seen in my like Hodor from Game of Thrones. Like probably like a half man, half gazebo. This is like a bouncer has eaten another bouncer. Like he's so big, and he comes, the hulking guy gets the best man in a headlock and like takes him away. At this point, the family have just abandoned. There's no family at the wedding. They've abandoned the wedding out of shame about what's happening, right? And that really makes another problem for us, because a familyless wedding is the Wild West. Because no one there is now responsible for the deposit. So people are behaving like pigs, okay? People are like stealing cutlery. I see a guy pick up a piece of cheese and just throw it at a wall. There is a member of the bridal party who, and I don't want to say this, but he took a shit in a bin. Which is gross, isn't it? But also it's conceptually annoying because it's like, yes, you're throwing that away, but not there. Like, do you know what I mean? So frustrating. It's absolute carnage. And also it gets really bad because we can't stop serving people alcohol. They have literally, the people, it's, as I say, a free bar, they have brought all this alcohol themselves, and the family told us to just keep handing it out until it's all gone. So people are just coming and they are just like taking age-old liqueurs and from the back of the bar, like a guy drove his car up to the back of the bar, filled his boot, drove away, came back for a second load. These people are animals, you know? And at about 10:30, maybe 11, it reaches another, exactly, so early, insanely early. It reaches another peak, and someone hears the bride yelling the words, "I wish I'd never married you," on her wedding day. Earlier, she was like, "I'm gonna be with you till death." And she didn't make the evening buffet. That's like 7 hours. That's like barely a cricket match. That's like that. If they'd had a neon sign, they would have said till 11. I make fun of it, but it was, you know, it was really sad. You know, it was kind of tragic. I talked to the catering company, and I found out later that couple, they got married on the Friday, they filed for divorce on the Monday, and the groom went into rehab the following Friday, which is a very sad song by Craig David. But the last thing I really sort of remember from that night, we were all, you know, quite a young serving group, but there were these chefs as well. And after a certain moment, we finally got rid of everybody. And we were like, let's go. We got to get out of this building. We all went outside, you know. This is in Sussex. It was, you know, the summertime, about 11:30, midnight, you know. It's a clear sky, you know. So everyone went out to have a cigarette on the bank. And we were all just there chatting. And we were all looking up. And you can just see all the stars, you know. Gorgeous, everything, Milky Way, the whole lot, you know. And people start pointing out constellations, you know. I've always thought stargazing was kind of crap, you know, right? Because people are always like, oh look, it's, you know, oh it's a lion. That's a rhombus with a dick. You know? Do you know what I mean? It's just so ridiculous, you know. But then, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, you know, everyone sees something different up there. You know, if you're a Christian, you're looking up. Those, you know, that's the heavens. That's where you're going. That's your destination. You know, if you're my ex, those stars. That's, you know, that's the 7 million year old reason you're so spontaneous. You know? But to me, it's just a mess. You know, Jackson Pollock mess. Done. You know, and that's fine. The last thing I really, really do remember from that evening, we were all there sitting on that bank, and the groom just came out of the dining hall. He'd been sort of missing in action for about an hour. And he suddenly arrived, and he saw us, and he sort of walked over to us, and he took a seat on the bank. And he looked at me, and he looked out, and he looked up, and he just slowly started crying. And I remember looking at him and just thinking, I just love memories. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. That's the end of the show. Thank you.